Lady, I think we are what? Almost live. We are live. Double checking. Okay, we are officially live. Hi, good morning.
Yay.
Happy Monday. My name is Jillian Conley. I am the Vice President of Marketing, Communications, and Strategies for CEO Consulting Group, and I'm here with Mara. Welcome.
Thanks. Happy
We
Monday,
are
right after the 4th.
I know. What a wild weekend this has been in our country. I have a friend whose daughter was at that camp in Texas,
Oh,
and luckily she's safe and got airlifted away. But
oh,
that
goodness.
tragedy happening in Texas has my heartstrings kind of pulled real tight. If
Mhm.
anyone has any family or friends or connection to that, you have our thoughts and prayers are with you. That is just wild how that flash flood came out of nowhere. But we are here and it is Monday and it is July Monday. This first half of the year was like gone
Oh, God.
so
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, it sure did.
And I don't know about you, but for me, the second half of the year always goes by faster. I always feel like the first half of the year takes longer. And then the second half, I blink and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's January. How did we do that?
Exactly. Well, the holidays kind of jam up on us and it just pulls us through from one month to the other. So I'm not ready because if it was already this fast for the first half, I'm definitely not ready. It just
Me either.
I need everything to just pump the brakes a little.
Exactly. Well, today we are going to be talking about, well, all month long, we're going to be giving you guys, we're going to be interviewing different marketers that have different experiences around branding and why your branding is so incredibly important for your business. So if you're watching us live, feel free to say hi to us below. If you're watching the replay and you have any questions, just hashtag replay, give us a comment. We'd be happy to answer your questions. We're going to talk today about brand consistency, brands we admire, big brands that we admire with their consistency, and then how you could possibly implement those types of strategies inside of your business. Um, but first, Mara, why don't you give us a little bit of background, just like 2 minutes? Tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? What do you do? What's your experience in marketing?
Yeah. Thanks, Jillian. I live in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Have a little crazy farm there. And stepped away, I think, in 2023 from my career in Virginia, not as far as marketing, but just that commute and that corporate life, to kind of open my own little venue. Little, we can hold up to 200 people, but it's a hybrid workforce center, or excuse me, co-work center, and then we opened a second location in January here in downtown Charlestown. So kind of loving this new path and just kind of a little bit more independent and getting to branch out with that. And then prior to that, had kind of spent ever since working with JP Events and starting my marketing and events career under Tina, had, I think, probably what 10, 15 years of experience in Northern Virginia, DC market with different corporations from fintech to construction, high-end remodeling to mortgage, real estate, kind of all over. So broad experience in different markets, and I like applying that to what I do now, but I also like working with smaller businesses and taking some of that historic knowledge and being able to help them where their budget constraints over marketing and trying just to be an affordable solution for small business.
I love that. That's awesome. I apologize in advance. My cat
Yeah.
has this is spazzing out. I don't really know. He's a kitten. He's found a Lego
If I
and
had
he's living his best life.
if I had one of my Great Danes, they'd be right here, like popping and trying to get at me. That's why they're at home today.
I don't know how to make this thing go away.
That's okay.
He's so cute. This is Peter Parker. He's our guest on
Ah,
our show today.
great. Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience. Anyone who's watching us live and doesn't know my background, if you are in the sisterhood, you've worked with CEO Consulting Group, you most likely already know who I am. But if you are watching and this is new for you, I'm going to give you the quick highlights. So I started off at the YMCA of Central Florida doing the brand vitalization in 2010. I moved to the Reston YMCA, became the brand or the marketing director there, and then switched over to Whole Foods Markets, opened up the Ashburn, Virginia store, then ran the Northern Virginia stores with a couple other marketers, and then the DMV, and then Amazon bought the company. We all left. I worked for a very large church, doing marketing for a couple of years. I have a degree in theology, so it kind of aligned. And then after that, I started my own marketing agency, and now I work for Tina with CEO Consulting Group. I have been in marketing for 16, 17 years, and I love studying the bigger brands. I just love studying them. I like to see what they're doing. I like to read about their campaigns. I chuckle sometimes back in the day. I don't know if you ever follow like fast food or anybody on Twitter. Like I don't have Twitter, but back in the day, when Twitter was like a thing. I remember watching this thread go back and forth between Wendy's and a customer. The customer wrote like, "Hey, Wendy's at McDonald's getting a whatever," and Wendy's just put a trash can image as a response.
They're
And
still
then the guy,
snarky. Did you
yes,
see
they
what they
are.
did to Katy Perry? Yeah, they're still snarky.
What did they do to Katy Perry?
When she got off her little space flight,
Uh-huh.
I think they said something along the lines, "When can we send her back?" I mean,
Oh, God.
they're still pretty
They are
snarky as a brand.
witty. Yeah, that is a choice, by the way. Like
Mhm.
their marketing team has made a choice to lean in to the
Yes.
deficits, the perceived deficits of their organizational's brand, like deficits in the speed, deficits in the food potential, deficits in the kind of customer experience. They lean into that in a comical way to engage their audience, and it
Mhm.
actually helps their brand grow, which
Mhm.
is funny. It's kind of like a really unique way to do it.
Mhm.
Other brands that I think have done this, like Super Bowl, is probably a really good place to land when you want to talk about brands putting together a really clever advertisement, a very clever pitch of some sort. Budweiser,
Mhm.
man, if they want to make you cry, they will make you cry. And
That's
they'll
true.
do it in 10 seconds.
Yes,
they, they'll
that's
bring
true.
out those pretty horses and that heartfelt,
Mhm.
like puppy dog energy
Yeah.
and super sad song. And they'd be like, at the end, Budweiser. It has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
Budweiser.
Or
It
Spuds
has,
MacKenzie, when you're gonna go
yeah,
old school. Like, I mean, they were definitely the ones I think that first like integrated the animal marketing and just kind of how anthropomorphic we
yeah.
are, for
Uh-huh.
sure.
I love that so much.
Mhm.
There's a lot of really clever ways to communicate, really clever ways.
Mhm.
And so, what we want to talk about today is brand consistency. So, all month long in July, we're going to be having this conversation around brand marketing. What's your messaging? What's your tone, your voice, your persona, your perfect customer avatar? Are you needing to reevaluate in order to get to your goals? But today, we want to talk about what do the bigger brands do really, really well that you could possibly be doing on your own, in your own way, on your own level, really, really well? And I wanted to start with one of my favorite companies that I like to watch with their marketing is Coca-Cola. One, I like to drink Coca-Cola, so it's like a soda addiction, I guess. I just pour right into it. Just give me all the sugar, lights my brain up. I love to drink Coca-Cola, so I like the product. So I drink the product. I naturally gravitate towards it. I have found over the years that I will not drink soda at restaurants that don't carry Coke products. I don't go to movie theaters that don't have Coke products. Um, I have a loyalty to Coca-Cola. And I'm not even 100% sure where it comes from. I don't remember like a pivotal moment in my life where I was like, this is my brand. But the truth is somehow deeply ingrained into my soul. I am
Mhm.
diehard Coca-Cola. And I do not like Pepsi. I think Pepsi tastes like someone opened a Coke, let it go flat, and then recarbonated it. And that
Mhm.
just tastes gross to me. And I know
Mhm.
some people feel the complete opposite. Some people are diehard Pepsi, right? Like they have a complete different, opposite view. But the reason why I like Coca-Cola as a brand is because of their consistency factors. They have a very strong brand guide
Mhm.
and they do not budge. And this is a really important thing is understanding once you get your brand guide created, meaning you understand who your customer avatar is, you've got your mission, vision, core values mapped out, you know your product descriptions, you know your background story, long, short form, you know what the organization does, how people move through it, how the whole process of what you're creating. What that experience is it's giving them a reliability. And if you do it consistently, people will speak on behalf of that reliability. Oh, I really liked working with Mara because she does this, this, and this when she takes you in. And then when she's done, she does this, this, and this. And it's just consistent. Big brands do consistent marketing and they look at their marketing through and through their whole company because marketing is company culture, marketing is advertisement, marketing is PR, marketing is social content and written content, web design. It's the interactions, it's the box that has the whatever the thing that they do where buy a Coke for a friend with a name on it or whatever. It's all of it. That's all marketing, right? But it's set with intention and it's set to pull people in. And one of the things that I love about Coca-Cola is their willingness to lean into who their audience is.
Mhm.
They're looking at wanting to lead the conversations in diversity inclusion. They want to lead conversations about bridging social divides because of economic status. They want to lead conversations around bringing peace and coming together regardless of what we look like, regardless of what our backgrounds are, to say that we can all share one common thing is who doesn't like a good, ice cold Coke, right? Like sit around a table and just have a nice drink for a second. And that kind of messaging sticks through and through in everything they do. And if you watch them, you'll see it consistently. And it really does make a big difference because people get bought into it and they need to see it more than once in order for them to recognize it. And so that's one brand that I really admire with their marketing. Mara, what about you? Is there a brand that comes top of mind for you that you're just kind of like, I really like how they do this and sticks
Yeah.
out to me?
Probably two, but I can narrow it down to one. But I love, and probably for similar reasons, Canva and Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
They are more, I would say,
Yes.
contemporary brands as far as their
Mm-hmm.
evolution and legacy. They haven't been around nearly as long as Coca-Cola and some of these other legacy brands, like we know
Mm-hmm.
Nike.
Right.
And that's one. I think that the reason why I like them is I think that they are more current. Journey or path of how businesses coming into the marketplace have to behave today. So I do think
Right.
that everything that you are saying is correct for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of legacy brands, but I feel
Right.
like they have a leg up in the fact
They
that
have
if
a
you've been
huge
here
leg up.
for
Hmm.
generations, and you're a staple, right? You're a staple
Right.
brand or you're a staple product. If you're some of the newer, and I think this is where it also trickles down to the small business owner, if you're in a newer space or an evolving space, you're really having to kind of be nimble. And I think that both Netflix and Canva showed where they were really the only players in the space and coming into a
Hmm.
space where they really had to communicate who their audience was and educate their audience and do it quickly for early adoption,
Right.
right? And to be successful.
Right.
And especially Canva, because you had such competition with Adobe and
Hmm.
everybody was trained to hire a graphic designer. There was not a
Hmm.
DIY type of solution out there. And it was
Right.
really, I mean, I would almost say kind of frowned upon if you did it yourself because it looked like a hack
Yes.
job, for the most part
Hmm.
with what was available. So not
Hmm.
only did they have to communicate that they had an innovative, guaranteed product, but they had to also do it in a way that built trust with people to be
Right.
able to go and experiment and at a point of entry that it was very easy user experience.
Hmm.
Netflix similarly had to say like, "Hey, we're not Blockbuster. We're going to give you a completely different concept and here's how that's going to look." And then when
Hmm.
that quickly, streaming and all of those online platforms came into play, they quickly had to pivot. I mean, because they were not
Right.
winning at all as a company. They were losing money
Right.
hand over fist as things started to decline, and they took a
Right.
huge risk and they pivoted and they reinvented themselves and their brand. Even though they, much to what you were just saying about their brand guide and their brand story, um, they pivoted a lot, but they also didn't stray from who they were. They just had to reinvent some of their channels, I think, and their business offerings, and that led for them to kind of add in layers upon layers as they kind of gain traction in the marketplace. And so I just think both of them really exemplify being able to be quick and nimble to make a decision, but stay on your path, right? It's
Right.
very hard because like you said earlier, and which is very true, the hey squirrel marketer, right? Or the hey squirrel
Hmm.
business that goes, this looks awesome, or our competitor's doing this, we should do it. And we didn't try the last thing for 90 days. So let's
Right.
reinvent the wheel again and then wonder why it didn't work.
Right. Man, that is probably the biggest thing is anytime. as a marketer, I'm with a client working, and we're like, 30 days into something, like this isn't working. I just kind of cringe inside because I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
saying that you've been on a diet for a month and you haven't lost all the weight you wanted to lose, that
Yeah.
you took a long time to gain, right? Like
Mhm.
it's having perspective. You don't build your audience and influence overnight. And if you think that you do because you see someone that goes viral,
Yes.
they didn't go viral on their first thing. The odds of them
Yeah.
going viral on their first thing without it being life-threatening, tragic, some kind of major conflict-based driven thing are so slim. Like it's just not,
Exactly.
you have to have consistency. There has to be something that leads up to that point where it gets hooked. And there's different levels of going viral. And viral is not even good for every brand,
No.
especially a small brand who is
Yeah.
locally required to exist. It's
Well, you
not
can't
helpful
scale.
if they like you from
Yeah.
China when you can't be there, you know?
Exactly. And they can't, I mean, often again, with creating more demand or more awareness is can you scale to meet the services? Because the other side of going viral is an increased
Mhm.
demand. And
Right.
whether it's a product, a service, et cetera, are you ready to actually, everybody thinks that that's what they want, but are you actually really ready for that? Because could you do fulfillment? And if you can't do
Right.
fulfillment, then now you have 10,000 people watching you not fulfill.
Hmm.
And the negative
Right.
reputation blowback from that. And we've seen that
Hmm.
over and over again as well with brands where all of a sudden something does go viral, they get a lot of excitement and traction from it, but then they can't actually fulfill. And then there's the reputation management issues. So
Right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
slow and steady
Slow
wins
and
race.
steady. It
Mhm.
does. That is so true. Now, when it comes to large businesses, with their strategic marketing, what they do is basically leveraging insights and building strong brands. So, for a small business, this looks the same, and I want to do some comparison and contrasting because I want to help everyone understand this. So, like as an example, if you were working in this month, you need to be working on realigning your marketing messaging. So, if you're defining your target audience, for example, a large business would probably conduct an in-depth market research to understand the demographics and psychographics and behaviors. Meaning they'd probably spend upwards of 25,000 and even more to have like a Sears analytic report put out to their audience or some kind of version of that. But when you're a small business, you don't have that kind of money. And so you're not going to do that, but you still need to identify and understand who your ideal customer is. And
Mhm.
that involves defining who they are, what their needs are, and where they spend their time online and offline in order for you to outline their demographics, psychographics, and behaviors. And a good way to lean into that would be like if you're starting a business and you like your business, chances are you would be your ideal customer. So maybe start with you as one of your avatars. Outline who you are. What do you like? What draws you in? What attracts you to this type of work, and so on. Another area is crafting a strong brand identity. And so, with a large business, they invest really heavily on building recognizable brands with very clear value proposition. And that's where advertisement tends to come into play. This is where people will take an enormous amount of money and they will put it into a Super Bowl commercial because it's the highest watched televised whatever event of the year. Um, all of that's great, but if you don't have billboard and Super Bowl, money, that's fine. But you still need to define your brand's identity. And that needs to include your unique selling proposition and some visual elements. So a strong brand would help differentiate you from your competitors. Mara, tell me, what maybe small or large brand do you feel does this really well? They have like a really good, strong identity where people know who they are. They know what their unique selling point is. It's just very consistent and simple.
I can actually give you local, which probably does stem over into Loudoun County, and I know DC markets as well because they're a tourism slash kind of a destination here in the area. But it's River Riders.
Okay.
And they they were always just very consistent in their brand and their experience and their storytelling. So
Mhm.
their brand story of adventures and excitement and just the back to scale. Again,
Mhm.
if you identify correctly, which we, hope everybody goes through that exercise, your audiences,
Mhm.
I always say pick three, who's your top three personas, and you don't have to
Mhm.
advertise to everybody. You have to advertise to your top three. And if you're doing
Right.
that, then your funnel's filling with the qualified, candidates or clients that you need to kind of service the market to. And I think they did that really well from the beginning, and they grew to scale. And so as river riders became more and more successful and more notable outside of just our market area into the DC metro, where they are highly recognized for what they do, which is
Mhm.
obviously river rafting,
Mhm.
and river excursions and river camps and all of those things
Mhm.
around that activity. They then spanned out into snow riders. Again,
Mhm.
they didn't deviate from the riders. So they kept Snow Riders, which is their snow tubing adventure park that they built, I think now 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And that, again, I think it was, I mean, challenging. I think a lot of people are like, what are they doing? Because like the
Right.
weather here is so different. And are you going to be able to manufacture snow? Are we going to get the storms and everything? And they
Mhm.
just doubled down on their messaging. They made it really fun. They have like a little, and they've always been fun with their brand. But they have a little snowman yeti kind of guy there, and he goes down the trails. And again, so they get fun with it because obviously that's what it is. It's an adventure, but they
Mhm.
don't stray from the riders. And well, now they opened a water park, and so they're creating like a whole different adventure vibe with that, kind of like the Ninja Warrior stuff.
Mhm.
But again, it's not. It's they've just continued to pull their client through the funnel and give
Mhm.
them multiple reasons to come back and recirculate through the customer journey with them. And so they now it's really, I mean, they have enough of a customer base that it's about retention into their different
Yeah.
product lines. And so we all
Mhm.
know it's a lot easier to retain a client than it is to win a new client. So they've grown to scale. They did that through a trustworthy brand and trustworthy
Mhm.
experiences that 99% of the time you're getting the experience that you're seeing everybody else have on their videos and their video content. And then you're coming back because the next experience they do is going to be that quality. And so now they
Right.
don't have to recruit, they just have to retain. And if they do recruit,
Mhm.
that's just added, and that's most
Right.
likely to be word of mouth and not paid
Mhm.
as much, more
Right.
organic.
And I
So
love that because it's when we look at these large brands, like if you're ever in the mindset of wanting to compare yourself to another brand, I don't love that. So stop. But if you're actively doing it, then I need to give you perspective. Large businesses use a combination of organic and paid social media strategies to reach wider audiences and engage with customers. Small businesses need to focus on creating engaging content that aligns with their audience, that allows them to have an excuse to interact with their following and utilizing that target audience as like on Facebook or Instagram to help leverage social media to expand your brand messaging. So like if you have a good social media presence and you're making and creating content that aligns with your perfect customer avatar, and then they're engaging on it, that's empowering your business's brand visibility. And you're not paying for it from the
yeah,
perspective of a paid ad. You have time and you have to make the post and that kind of thing. But
every great
from the
client has
perspective,
the ability to be a brand ambassador. I mean, that's what you're hoping for
yes,
in organic advertising.
exactly.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Now, from a content marketing strategy, large businesses tend to create valuable and informative content that like attract and engage their target audience. Small businesses tend to lean towards creating blog posts, videos, infographics. They want to talk about addressing their clients' pain points and personalizing, um, like the personalizing the touch points, basically humanizing it, not personalizing,
Hmm.
humanizing the touch points. So establishing that I'm an authority in this topic. I am here to help you move through whatever this is, this this buying decision.
Hmm.
And I think that that's really good. But I would love to see more small businesses focusing on valuable and informative content to attract and engage with their audience. It's one thing to have content going out consistently because you need that. You need
Mhm.
to be able to have an integrated marketing strategy, which we've talked about before. Is like kind of visualize it like this, where like you have maybe it's a newsletter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then we're going to interlace in between there, let's say a flyer, a networking event you're going to where you'll put that flyer at, and then maybe your website gets updated and something else. Direct mailer all goes together. Integrated marketing plans are more stable. It's like building a bridge with like support versus having a one off here and a one off there and a one off here. And so large companies do integrated marketing really, really well. And as a small company, you can do it too. And you need to be doing it as well. But focusing, understanding what sets you apart in your market, and then focusing on that value proposition is really what's going to establish you as an authority in that specific conversation. Now, Mara, you were sharing with me a few minutes ago. I know we might run over time today, guys. Just if you need to hop off, if you're watching this live, go ahead. But I want to make sure Mara and I get a chance to talk through this because this is really good stuff. Mara likes to follow influencers, and she was sharing about one influencer
Oh, yes.
yeah, do you
What's
want
her
to talk
name?
about that for a second? Because
Yeah.
influencer marketing is a great way to partner with another brand to collaborate, to use micro influencers, to build connection with your audience, and so on. Influencer marketing is how I opened the Ashburn Whole Foods Market store. It's how I sold out all of our events in Northern Virginia Whole Foods Market, and I use them with the YMCA. I also use them with my clients. When I have clients who are having a hard time getting customers in their stores, we plan an influencer event. And then overnight, it changes things because they have a connection. And I want Mara to speak to that because I know she likes working and talking about influencers.
Are we talking about the chick from earlier?
Do you want
The
to?
is
We're in a
that yeah,
women's
no, no, I
group.
just want to make because I
Yeah.
cannot remember. I'm looking her up right now. The I'm sure maybe some of the people on the call, the We Do Not Care Club. And she just went, Melanie Sanders, there it is.
Hmm.
She just went viral, I want to say, in the last month or so for just being completely like just vulnerable, but also not like emotional. Well, she's
Hmm.
emotional as well. She's very transparent. I mean, she's kind of if you're, I want to say 40 plus, because I'm not a doctor, but I would say like the averages for perimenopause and menopause around about that time. And there's a lot of things that happen, at least for me personally, in my 40s, and then talking to other friends and stuff in their 40s, that it's like, there was so much in our generation that was talked about at a younger age that I think we were prepared for. But then this whole block of time, which is like 10 years, by the way, this whole craziness lasts for like 10 years. There was no conversation. And then all of a sudden, she has been able to do and unpack like so much and with comedic skill that is much needed what everybody's going through all females are going through at this age group. And she's done it all in the We Do Not Care Club. And she gets together, she'll have like 5 pairs of glasses on, the two on your head that you can't find. So you put the third on, and then you've got a pair around your neck. And she just has this, funny style. Sometimes she gets on and it's just her and kind of not like this characterization. And she did so over the weekend too. She was just kind of like distraught and in one of those moods where she doesn't know why. But she's what you and I were talking about going viral, right? Like
Hmm.
she is a content creator. There is a reason why her content is going viral. Now, if you're a small business and you're small, there's a couple small businesses that I know that have recently opened here that are practitioners in women's health. Her content is
Hmm.
something I would be gravitating to and sharing. I would be finding
Hmm.
a way to benefit from the ripple effect of what she's doing because she's not selling a product. I have seen her start to spotlight more products because, of course, she's going to get influencer dollars for that.
Right.
But, I think that she didn't have to scale anything. It just happened to be that her messaging resonated. And if you were to
Right.
go back to a small business brand and the storytelling, and everybody says that they either want to be an influencer or they need an influencer to represent their brand or they need to pay an influencer. And that isn't, there's so many influencers out there already. Like, why reinvent the wheel? Why try to find an influencer to attach yourself to, or as a small business person, attach yourself to even locally, because there's local influencers in Northern Virginia. Instead, can you take anything that is their content and stand it up side by side on your page? Can you
Right.
take like Melanie Sanders funny posts and things that are relevant to your
Hmm.
business if you're, women's health practitioner, and share
Hmm.
it and have your own, cheeky post about it, et cetera, and still
Hmm.
benefit from the content that's out there.
Yeah.
Because being viral doesn't necessarily guarantee success, except for some of these
Right.
people that really all they're doing is sharing a persona, a content piece,
Hmm.
something exciting like that. They're not trying to
Right.
sell a product or get people in their stores. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. And I think just to go a little bit deeper for those watching and don't understand the viral conversation, because I know some of our audience is not familiar with the language, we kind of toss it out like it's very common. But what we're saying when we're saying going viral is like you could have a post go up and let's say it just kind of catches wind. It gets in the algorithm, it aligns, people start liking, commenting, sharing, saving, all the actions that help it continue to go up in the algorithm. You might just put it up and an hour later has 14,000 views. Well, that's micro viral. 14,000 views can have a huge impact on your page's following and overall your reputation as a brand. That's a lot of views for a small business to have in a very short amount of time. The problem with it is unless your goal is to monetize your social media content as an authority figure and it's a thought leader in your
Mhm.
industry, which takes a very strong strategy and very consistent, a lot of consistent content creation, real stuff, not just social posts, videos. It takes a lot of videos. If you're wanting to go down that route, then going viral is great because more views and shares and likes and stuff will make you more money. But if your goal is to build your brand and your brand is local and you're going viral on your posts, but like the people that are following you aren't your audience, you're not going to see the return on investment
Mhm.
financially. So therefore, all your content, it might be cool and you might be putting all this energy into it, but then like, and it might look good, like, hey, I've got 15,000 followers, but do 15,000 people shop from you?
Exactly. It could just be a time suck,
It could be
to
a
be
time
blunt.
suck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to be blunt.
absolutely. And then Kelly put in the comment, Kelly Featheringham says it was talking about the 90 days for pivoting your messages or strategy was soon. When do you know it's okay to decide to make adjustments, especially as a small business owner? So I wrote in the comments for this is I think, and Mara might have a different feel on this, and I'm open to it. This is just for me. I find that I like to take things in threes. 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. I like to take things in threes. I learned that when I was having kids back to back in succession, just so you don't like go crazy. But with social media, I find social media to be so much like a newborn baby. I take it in threes as well. So 3 months is usually what I like to say is if after 3 months, your implemented strategy literally shows no return on investment, meaning you're not going up or down, nothing is happening, then you know you're not hitting your audience at all. Or your page may be deactivated, which is a topic for another day. If you find that during that 3 months you are seeing changes, maybe it's up and down, maybe it's something, that's where you need to go dig and tweak your plan. What works? What are they liking? What are they not liking? And then do more of what they like. Give them more of what they're connecting with. It might be a message, it might be a style of post, it might be maybe you asked an engaging question and you need to be doing more question and answer kind of question or post on social. But to make the decision to tweak the strategy is not the same thing as changing the end goal. So don't
Yes.
just hard left off your track and go a totally
Yeah.
different direction. Your goal is still to get to that same point. Now all we're doing is going, well, this road is a little bumpy and it's not working. So we're going to get on the paved road here and we're just going to drive a little smoother in this direction. There should not be any hard adjustments like, oh, I'm never doing LinkedIn again. I tried for 90 days and it didn't work. Okay, 90 days is nothing compared to the world of the internet. So it's
Mhm.
just you have to give it more time. And in fact, most social media pages and strategies take anywhere from 90 to 6 months,
Oh yeah.
90 days to 6 months to really show their positive return on investment to get that organic growth going without paying money for it. So for me, I would say I would make this adjustments if I see consistently nothing, then I take it in threes. If I'm running an ad for 5 days and I'm on day three and nothing, cancel it. If I'm running a, promotion for a quarter and I'm 3 weeks in and nothing's happening, change it, fix it, tweak it, figure out what you are not saying or what you are saying that's keeping your ideal customer avatar from connecting with you. in that thing so that you can get everything playing in the right direction where it naturally organically flows. Do you have any thoughts towards that question from Kelly with
It's
the 90-day pivoting
Yeah, it's funny. I do
strategy?
the threes as well. It's a little bit different. I do, well,
Hmm.
I follow it by the quarter. I mean, which is a 3 month session, right? I mean, you cannot, you have to do for 90 days. I think any marketer would tell you that because
Hmm.
you just have to follow the data. So that's, I really dive into the data on it because everything, even if you're doing organic, your page still has data, your website still has data. And these are metrics that
Hmm.
are now, because of tools that are so easy to find, your social metrics and your website metrics are so accessible to you. So
Yes.
you should be able to measure the conversions. And again, what is it? Is your conversion a transaction? Is it getting somebody to book a meeting with you for a consultation off your website? Is it, you
Hmm.
have to know how you move your client through the customer journey to transact with you, spend money with you, because I'm sure you're not doing this for free and for fun, right? As a small
Right.
business owner, there's something that you want them to do with you. So your pick three is, what are your three personas? What are you giving them as far as your brand story and your services and everything and what is speaking to them, and how are you pulling them through the customer journey to transact with you from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel? And you can
Hmm.
measure that with data every 90 days. And if you're
Yeah.
back to, like you were saying, with the content and what's working and where you need to pivot, if you're A/B testing, if you're not overwhelming your content with messaging for everybody, and your messaging is really focused on the three personas that are working for you, and if you're new and you don't know what's working for you, even more important to
Hmm.
stay with something for 90 days,
Right.
because organically, maybe all of a sudden you will see that there's a whole, that you have six people that move through the funnel, or six customers, right, that transacted with you that weren't even on your horizon, that they were persona. That happened for us. I mean, for our space here, I had never thought of quinceañeras. Like, it just wasn't, and I
Mm.
always say the word wrong, and I'm really sorry for all my
No, you
Hispanic
did
friends, but
great. No, I think you did a good
my
job
kids
on
make fun of
that.
me all the time that I say it wrong, but they're my
Oh.
absolute most favorite events. I would have never
Uh-huh.
known about them. I mean, I obviously knew culturally that they existed, but I just didn't know about the experience and what they look like in a venue space and how wonderful that clientele is. I mean, as far as like an ideal client as a venue owner, they're amazing, but I would have never known that was one of our audiences when we started. I
Mhm.
mean, I kind of wanted some weddings. I knew that we wanted business meetings and conferences. I
Mhm.
knew that we could do birthday parties. There were all these little things. But that was just not even on my horizon. Within 6 months of opening, I think we'd had two and consistent lead traffic coming in for them. So that
Mhm.
persona appeared to me. I didn't even search it out. So again, it's why it's so important to be in the data and then be willing to pivot. So what we did was, obviously we started to market those photos, those pictures, those keywords on our website, everything like that, which we did
Mhm.
not even have on our horizon. So I think that it's a process of both evolving and pivoting. If one persona isn't working, you don't necessarily need to throw it out, but maybe it moves to the back burner because there's a priority persona or avatar moving into the front in the priority space, because they are engaging, because they're coming through the
Mhm.
top of the funnel. So if
Yeah.
you go back to the data, and every 30 days and every 3 months, again agree with the threes,
Mhm.
you are doing that homework, then you're also going to
Yeah.
know where to steer your brand as it continues to evolve.
Right. I love that. It's such a good way to look at it. And since we're still going over, are you good on time, Mara? You got a few
Oh, I'm fine.
minutes?
Yep, yep.
Okay. So I want to go to local marketing, large versus small, and then I want to talk about referral programs before we get off because I want to tap into your brilliance in this. So from a local marketing perspective, large businesses may have like a broader reach, but small businesses really excel by focusing in local marketing strategies. And so you don't have the funds of $500,000 marketing budget like Coca-Cola has, but maybe you could focus on building relationships with local customers, partnering with community events, utilizing local SEO and local way and co-branding with local customers and activities going on. Like maybe you go to a farmer's market, or maybe there's like some kind of event where you can be a vendor or a sponsor for a team. It depends on your business. Or even hosting someone else in, if you have a storefront, you can always host another company into your place. I know like when I was doing strategy sessions with Tira from the Global Local, we used to talk about her storefront. How do we get more people in there? We used to talk a lot about Whole Foods Market, how we would bring people in to sample the products that they make. So we would have
Nice.
Kingston there. We would have like these people here. And then it's cool because you're meeting small business owners, first of
Hmm.
all, which is super fun. And they're all over America. So that like you're seeing
Hmm.
their products everywhere. And that's so like it makes you feel good for them. Like you want to celebrate them. But by having them in the store, they're tweeting or Instagramming or Facebooking and they're saying, I'm here, come visit me. They're pulling their audience to you. And with Tira, she finally started doing like she has a candle bar in the Global Local. She has wine companies come out and do wine tastings. And that kind of thing is really great because what pairs well with shopping? S- Sip-in
Yeah.
shops. What
Hmm.
pairs well? We used to do it at Whole Foods all the time.
Hmm.
Here's a beer or some wine and go walk around our store. ABC liquor license covered the whole property. But finding creative ways as a small business to connect locally is really important. But here's where I want to spend our energy is referral programs. Let's say you do everything, you knock it out of the park, and you show up like a large business for your small business, and you show up consistently, you show up with intention, you show up with a plan, and you show up ready to implement that plan. That's what a large business is doing. Now, here's the cause and effect of that. It's the referral. It's the word of mouth marketing. And some businesses do this really well and some don't. But I want to share how I have been with AT&T since they were singular, since I was 12. So I'm 37 years old. And then I got a letter in the mail from Ryan Reynolds at Mint Mobile. My entire loyalty of like 20 years with one phone company switched to Mint Mobile because his connection, co-branded connection, is so funny
Oh,
and
he's hysterical.
so right up my alley of humor and how I like to interact with the company. I switched from a major carrier to one that I had never heard of because he was like, Merry Christmas. I'm like, yes, Merry Christmas to me, and it's cheaper and I paid my whole phone bill up for the whole year.
Yeah.
And it's like I get the same service, everything works, and it had a shift on me. It made me turn. And when people ask me about, who do you have your phone person, I'm like, Mint Mobile, you should check them out, it's really affordable. And I'm like sitting here selling it for them. I
Yeah.
don't make commission
Yeah.
off of it, right? Like they're not paying me anything, but I love the product so much. I am so satisfied with that transition that I made that I wish I would have done it a long time ago.
Hmm.
And all I needed was a little bit of buy-in, perceived
Hmm.
buy-in from somebody that I like to connect me with the brand to go, I like the quirky vibe here. This is totally me. And so I want to know from you, Mara, have you ever seen a really good referral program or a really good like co-branded thing that really just like landed for you or made you make a major
Oh my
brand change
gosh.
decision?
Way to put me on the spot.
I know, I'm sorry. I just just curious.
No, because I have brand loyalty because of my pain point is switching anything. Like I hate change.
Hmm.
So um so I've had Verizon forever and I will keep a
Uh-huh.
car until the wheels fall off and I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
think I mean, maybe like recently, again, back to local, because I'm not a
Hmm.
brand junkie as far as like, I don't care what the TV is. And I just don't, like, it's funny as a marketer, I just don't subscribe, right? Like, and
Right.
you were saying the sodas, I don't drink
Hmm.
soda. Like, I'm the
Hmm.
worst person and on that
Hmm.
level because I just don't do those activities.
Uh-huh.
But so I am hyper local in the fact that there is somebody who needs to
Hmm.
fix my car, or something
Yeah.
like that. So I did have one. We needed tires the other day.
Hmm.
And I just couldn't think of like, it was one of those spaces where like, I just don't have time to think about this. So I went to this little resource group and what we have on Facebook and asked, and like everybody blew up about this one here
Hmm.
in our area. And it was justified. I mean, we had a great
Hmm.
experience. They were really good guys, great pricing, everything like that. But I wouldn't call that a woo. I would call that more of like a win for local reputation. But back to referral,
Hmm.
every single person that commented and tagged them in that thread was a
Mhm.
referral. And it wasn't because they were viral. I think it goes back to kind of what I was saying about river riders and the consistent experience,
Right.
and just being able to offer, like you had just said, doubling down on making sure that you deliver the goods, that you're
Mhm.
integrated and delivering on a consistent experience across the board. You're going to have natural organic referrals. And back to what
Right.
you were saying about building the strategic partnerships in other businesses as well as
Mhm.
nonprofits. I think for small businesses, one of the ways to look at that and know that you can achieve that is back to where I always say pick three. Nonprofits are always coming to businesses for alliances, for
Mhm.
donations, and that's really hard for small businesses because you want to say yes to everybody, but you just fiscally can't. There's no way to do that.
Right.
So if you pick three that align with your business, that are
Mhm.
either aligned with your mission or aligned with the values of your business, aligned with it, product sales, anything like that. But if they're just alignment with the core values of your business, then you can really deeply focus instead of going broad, go deeper with these three nonprofit
Right.
partners. And their following is going to become your following because you are now being an
Mhm.
advocate for them. So that's that referral program, or not really
Right.
program, but referral energy there. And then the same thing with the businesses. Pick three. Like you cannot
Mhm.
service and share content and be a brand partner to more than three businesses at once successfully. It doesn't mean that you can't go and like 20 local businesses or all of your downtown businesses or anybody that's in the audience, or the playground that you play in as far as your services, anything. You can like everybody, but there's three that when you're going to do a pop-up event or you're going to do a wine event or you're going to do some of these other things that you are your go-to partners,
Mhm.
because then also you're not getting diluted in your
Right.
outreach. So you can focus, you can guarantee that you can execute on it and be successful. And that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that those three stay the same either. I mean, obviously, you
Right.
can change and evolve as things go. But I think if you take the time to build those audiences, then you're going to get the organic referrals. As far as like a
Mhm.
rewards program and successful on that, I'm a very careful to ever say discount, right? That's just not a
Oh
great
yeah.
word. Yeah. And
Discount is
so
not my favorite reward. There are
I
so
can't
many better
stand
ways to reward than discounting.
I loathe it. Like when I say that, like
Mhm.
into my core, it upsets me. And it upsets me when we
Mhm.
have some stuff here in the region where we have some groups and organizations that are always wanting the businesses to promote discounts. I'm like, how can they do that when costs are
Right.
up, margins are lower, everything
Mhm.
costs money, advertising's expensive. Like you said, how can the average small business owner do that? So I'm more about what is the reward, and it should
Mhm.
be a bounce back. It should definitely always be a you've come in, you've spent money with me, so here's this
Mhm.
reward. You've come in or you've referred a client to me, and making that point of
Mhm.
entry. If you have the capabilities to build a referral webs or like excuse me, a referral landing page on your
Mhm.
website, make it super easy for the people who are your brand ambassadors to get the referral to you. So that was one thing that at Moss we did. We built like little microsites basically for our top referring clients so that they could easily get, and we could also make sure that we knew that a great referral. I mean, if somebody sends you $1 million remodel, you want to be sure to say thank you to that client.
Right.
But it's very easy for that client, the new client, not to say, oh, Sue sent me, So
Mhm.
we want to make it really, easy for them to make that referral. So that's another thing to keep in mind that when you are putting into together a program that you have a way to track that program, and say
Right.
thank you to your referring clients.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely love that point of like, you don't have to give a discount. I love the bounce back. If you've ever shopped at Kohl's, they do bounce back really
Yes.
well. So you go
Hmm.
in, you spend money, and they're like, oh, great, you just spent $200. And I'm like, well, that was in my budget. I was already going to do that. And they're like, well, here's $50 of Kohl's cash.
Yeah, and your
Well,
receipt
I
says that
guess I'll
you
be back
saved.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you spent 200. Your receipt says you shaved 300, right? And you're like, sure,
Right,
that's back in my account. And you,
right.
like you said, you get $30 to come back, and I think that's probably one of the top reward programs that
Hmm.
there is. To be honest with you, they're a good
Yeah.
example of that.
That's a really good example of one. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that, but when you do think about how you're going to creatively implement these referral programs or these local marketing initiatives, whether it's co-branding or getting really focused on your referrals, excuse
Monday.
me, you want to, it's Monday. You just want to make sure that you have a plan and that you stick to it. I cannot emphasize this enough. you don't want to give up on your plan so fast that it doesn't have chance to get
Mhm.
roots into the
Mhm.
ground. Like it needs a minute. You're having, when you're trying to change the conversation around your brand, you are training people obscurely from afar to learn who you are. That is not an overnight process. They are not eating and sleeping and breathing your company. They're seeing it once or twice a week on social, and
Facts.
maybe they go into your storefront if you have one every couple weeks, right? That it's not the same thing. So when people say things like, well, I just don't want to repeat my messages over and over again, maybe you need to be repeating your
Yeah.
messages over and over again. They need
Yeah.
to know what you do because they're not seeing all of them. There is a purpose and a point to having consistency and sticking with your strategy. And one of the things you had mentioned is the analytics review. For
Mhm.
anyone who doesn't know how to transcribe or read through their analytics, why don't you screenshot it and throw it into Chat GPT
Oh
and at
yeah.
the bare minimum get the AI's opinion? Because it could lead you at least to become more aware of an area that is good or an area that needs improvement, where you can step it up, step it in, step it up and step into it and say, ah, now I know how I want to move on and make this work. Now we definitely went over. Do you have any last thoughts that you might want to share, Mara, about big marketing versus small company marketing? And
I think two things. I think your Kohl's to go back to the partnership. You also Amazon. You know that you can take your
yeah.
Amazon packages. So I think when you're putting your thinking cap on as a small business owner, that you are or service provider, because I think it's different. Some people think they own a brick and mortar and that's a small business, and they forget that if they have services or like insurance, that they're still a small
Mhm.
business. But that's kind of that strategic partnership. I mean, you wouldn't have said Kohl's and Amazon would have been partners. In fact, Amazon, you can go buy anything there that Kohl's has, but they became a
Mhm.
return center. And then when you return, you get bounce back, you get $5 Kohl's cash. So
Right.
they came up with a strategy that drove more foot traffic into Kohl's as everything was going digital. And they used a
Mhm.
digital partner that would have almost been competition to do that. So it was a lot of, when you think about it, it's almost like you would have never thought that partnership would have gone
Right.
together, but they
Mhm.
strategically were able to align it. So again, your partners may be hiding out there. They may not just be right in front of you. It may be an aha moment that you're like, well, wait, you had mentioned before, you had said where the Wendy's kind of
Mhm.
goes into where fast foods aren't. They're like leaning into
Mhm.
some of the other areas. And that's it. Like, where are your services
Mhm.
targeting and focusing on? And is there somebody else that you can kind of complement that you wouldn't normally think about that would drive? What are you missing? Foot traffic? Are you missing website traffic? Are you missing social traffic? That kind of stuff. So don't necessarily think about what you need, but necessarily maybe what you're missing. And that's a little bit of a deeper layer thought.
Right.
And then also just like, have we been talking about thinking and all these complexities, right? Don't
Mhm.
overthink it.
Right.
Because small business owners end up going down the rabbit hole of there's so much to think about that then it
Mhm.
becomes almost inactivity. I don't know where to
Right.
start. I don't know where my jumping off point is. I don't have a logo yet, or I don't have a Facebook
Mhm.
yet. And so just you have to, there's a great movie, What About Bob? Get baby steps on the bus. You have to get
Yeah.
on the bus at some point, even if it's just baby steps. So commit to do
Mhm.
just Facebook for 90 days. Commit to
Right.
spend 90 days developing your brand. If you don't have a brand story, like Jillian, like you mentioned, ChatGPT,
Mhm.
you would be shocked. If you have a hobby shop in Leesburg, you can be guaranteed that there's 25 million hobby shops throughout the US, and that
Mhm.
ChatGPT can find alignment between what yours is and your market in your municipality with what 25 million others are doing. And it will give you
Mhm.
back suggestions for a brand story, suggestions for logo enhancements, things like
Mhm.
that. You'd be shocked at what it can do. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can use tools that are out there to find those baby steps to just
Mhm.
start doing your homework for 90 days.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once you get through that 90 days, talk with people like me, with Mara, let us help make sure that there's the other components that you wouldn't know naturally to think about because it's just not your area of expertise. There's some things that are intuitive to marketers that we don't always know where we get it from, but we know.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those things where every small business owner should have a relationship with a marketing person. And that's not because you need to be spending an enormous amount of money with a marketing agency. It's because you need to know that your strategy is strategic.
Yeah.
Not all strategies are strategic.
No.
Some are emotionally driven and reckless. Some will be reputation damaging. I have seen people's strategies and went, "Whoop, I
Mhm.
just want to help you, but we can't do
Yeah.
any of this." You know,
That's
like, whoa,
awkward.
this is going to be
Yeah.
a PR nightmare in 5 months.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
And really remembering, and we've been reinforcing this, I feel like almost on every Marketing Monday, the theme of your marketing should be humanizing your AI
Mhm.
experiences. So remember, ChatGPT is a first draft, not a
Yes.
final
Baby step.
draft. Yeah,
Yes.
baby steps. Like
Right.
use it to help guide, use it to help bring you to the water, but then make yourself drink. Okay. Like,
Mhm.
you know what to do. You have intuition, you have within you the ability to acknowledge what is good and what is not good for your business. And if your gut is saying something's off, trust it and go seek counsel from people like us. We would love to help give you perspective, or maybe just encourage you. Maybe we look at it and go, well, dang, that's working for you. And maybe that's
Yeah.
what you need, is a little like pat on
Pat
the
on the
back,
back.
like, well done, your strategy's working. And there with Mara and I, there's no ego. So if you just want an opinion, we're here for it. I'm not here to make you feel good or bad, but I would like to see you succeed. So if want to have unbiased opinions, we're here. You can message us on Facebook. But yeah, Mara, I'm so grateful that you hopped on with us this morning.
Jillian,
And I
thanks for
know we
having
took the
us.
whole hour, but gosh, you have so many great things to say.
Oh,
You really
thanks.
are wonderful. Thank
I'm
you.
surprised I'm firing on all cylinders on a Monday, but we did it.
Me too, girl. I love it. And for everyone who actually stayed on to watch with us, thank you. It's so
Thank you.
sweet.
Yeah.
We just love going live with you all. We go live on Mondays, 9 a.m. to 9:30, and today, 9 a.m. to basically 10. But all of July, we're going to be interviewing different marketers. We're going to be talking about marketing and brand consistency and messaging and all the things that help you be successful, because July is when you need to be evaluating your marketing strategy for the second half of the year. So keeping in mind holidays are coming, and if you are actively planning your campaign when you are actively in a holiday, you have missed the mark.
Correct.
And we will talk about that more next week.
All
Awesome. Well, thank
right,
you, Mara,
Jillian.
so much.
All
Thank
right.
you,
Goodbye to
everyone,
Peter
for
Parker.
watching. Yeah.
We'll see you
Yeah, have a
later.
great week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.